You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for joining us this Wednesday. I'm Ann Makovic, and the Bay Area coastline remains under a tsunami advisory. Waves could be dangerous for anyone in the water. This is a look at the pier at Sharp Park Beach in Pacifica and the waters off San Francisco. Local officials are advising people to stay away from the beaches and the coastal areas. People living along the California coast spent the night checking in for any updates, especially along the Santa Cruz Harbor. Our Kevin Coe is there where he is tracking the latest.
Boaters here at the Santa Cruz Harbor still don't have power. Port officials last night, to take safety precautions to try to get ahead of the tsunami advisory, they cut off power, water, and gas to the entire harbor. That is still off as the advisory is still ongoing. The good news is there hasn't been any reports of significant damage after a very tense early morning here in Santa Cruz. Boaters tell us they were up throughout the surge, some even deciding to take their boats out into the deeper waters to avoid being stuck in the harbor. That's because of previous incidents as recent as December when a high surf caused millions of dollars in damages at the harbor. In 2011, a 9.0 earthquake near Japan, which also caused a devastating tsunami there, also sent waves here. That's why boaters have been on high alert.
Because the wave's only maybe a foot tall, but it's 4 miles long. And it's got the power of the ocean behind that, and the earthquake still. That is what a surge is. A surge is a super duper power turbo ocean wave punch coming in, and it's miles long. And as we saw in Indonesia, they can also be 40, 50, 60 feet high. That can happen here in Santa Cruz. If we had Indonesia happen in Santa Cruz, it'd be devastating. All these cars would be gone, the harbor, the concrete, everything gone.
Joseph has actually been here all night into this morning. He is still here to make sure his boat is okay, waiting out the advisory.
I'll take a look at this overnight time-lapse video from Pillar Point Harbor and Half Moon Bay. The National Weather Service posted this to show how those boats were rocking up and down because of a packet of waves there. Bay Area officials say we should continue to avoid the coast today. We spoke with a research geophysicist who says their concern now is for surfers or anyone who goes near the water.
My biggest worry, to be honest, is people getting in the water and trying to surf a tsunami. Tsunamis are not like any other ocean waves. They come in really fast. The rule of thumb is if you're on the beach and you see a tsunami, it's too late to outrun it.
San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie says local impact should be minimal, but we should continue to stay away from beaches, harbors, and docks. Even with the tsunami advisory in effect in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Ferry Service is up and running. They say there are no impacts or reported damage right now. Normal weekday service is in effect. All right, let's go to Southern California now. Reporter Tina Patel is monitoring the impacts at Marina del Rey in Los Angeles County.
Thankfully, it is a calm morning here in Marina del Rey. There was no flooding overnight. We've been talking to some boat owners, and they say it was relatively calm all morning, but they say there still could be some surges over the next few hours, so officials still want people to be on alert. The Sheriff's Department shared this video overnight showing them moving their boats out to deep water so they would be safe and could monitor the situation out in the open water. They did deploy their helicopters last night to make announcements along the coast, advising people to stay out of the water and off the beaches. We talked to one boat owner who says he appreciated the warning, but he ended up staying put on his boat after watching reports from other coastal areas.
We got all the alerts. The sheriff went up and down each channel telling everybody not to be here. Then I followed it on the other side. How did it hit Seattle? How did it hit Alaska? After I see the pattern of the energy of the tsunami, I just went to sleep.
This was the reason so many people were on alert. The 8.8 earthquake that hit Russia was one of the strongest we've seen in decades. In Hawaii, there were long lines on the roads as people tried to get away from the coast and up to higher ground. The tsunami warning there was downgraded to an advisory overnight. We have not gotten any reports of serious damage or injuries, but people are going to be monitoring the situation throughout the morning. Now, the National Weather Service says when we talk about tsunamis, people are often picturing a giant wave coming on shore, but they say sometimes the most dangerous thing is the strong surges of energy underneath the water that can be hard for swimmers or boaters to see. And that's why they say it's good to be cautious even several hours after the danger we think has passed.
That 8.8 quake struck off of Russia's far eastern peninsula yesterday, just before 4:30 p.m. our time. Eyewitness footage shows the moment it hit. Take a look. Now, the USGS says the quake tied for the 6th strongest earthquake ever, on record at least. There is damage in Russia, but so far no reports of any injuries. Strong aftershocks have also been recorded there. That is close to the epicenter. You can see droves of sea lions diving into the sea when that earthquake hit. You can also see some rocks falling down from the cliffs. A tsunami warning is now an advisory in Hawaii. Evacuations have been lifted across Oahu and flights have restarted at Honolulu International Airport. Video shows the scramble to get to safety in Honolulu yesterday. Locals crowded roads in a rush to get to higher ground. Tsunami waves hit Hawaii overnight, but they were smaller and less damaging than anticipated. Tsunami water spilled into a parking lot on Oahu's North Shore overnight. The CBS affiliate in Hawaii, Hawaii News Now, has been following the latest developments through the night and into the morning.
Casey, it was pretty amazing to see how people reacted so quickly, and that's great. You know, Costco ran out of water. You know, the gas station lines were very long as people were preparing. And then, of course, the roads were just gridlocked yesterday. And as you mentioned earlier, we were watching people turn around and go over the curb trying just to get to where they needed to go, Casey.
Yeah. And as we talked a little earlier as well, you know, you could tell that people, even in their vehicles, weren't so much worried about themselves, but, oh, my auntie, my mom, is trapped in her downtown parking garage. It's taking 2 hours just to get out of there. And I think that's where a little bit of the panic set in, but luckily, things kind of smoothed out later in the evening. You know, you heard from Roger Morton, the director of the city's Department of Transportation Services, that at some point, 93% of the handy vans were not able to go pick people up, and those folks rely on those every day. And so that's kind of scary when you think about your grandma and your grandpa not being able to get picked up or taken from their nursing home to their home. But again, you know, we're just grateful that things weren't as bad as they could have been.
In Japan, a tsunami of about 1.5 feet was detected at a northern port. Some people sought safety on top of buildings after warnings to move to higher ground. Officials there are warning that bigger waves are still possible. Authorities estimate the potential tsunami conditions will persist for at least a day. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. Sideshows taking over a quiet neighborhood in San Francisco. The steps the city is taking to prevent them from happening again.
Happened at our house, it smashed into our car, into our garage.
If a car loses it, it's gonna run through at least 50 of those kids.
We're talking to people in the Sunset neighborhood about whether a new effort to address the problem would actually make things better. Plus, a high-stakes battle in a Bay Area courtroom, the California residents who could suddenly find themselves stripped of legal status.
My country was in crisis, and returning would not have been safe. Now, nearly 20 years later, this country is my home. Yes. Home.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Now, yesterday, just around 4:24, a magnitude 8.8 earthquake hit just off the coast of Russia. And since then, we've been continuing to keep a close eye on what the National Weather Service has to say. Still advisories in effect right now when it comes to tsunami advisories anywhere from Alaska all the way down to Hawaii and back here along the California coastline. We woke up to that this morning, where we're continuing to keep a close eye on conditions along our coast. Now, this morning alone, we've been keeping a very close eye on the tidal swings, and it's anywhere from 2 to 2.5 feet along the San Francisco coast in the harbors. So we're keeping a close eye on that because it's still hazardous out there. We're under that advisory, meaning strong currents and waves are still possible as we head into the next couple hours, and we'll keep you updated on when that advisory expires. In the meantime, let's take a look at the forecast too. It is one of the coolest, cloudiest days we're going to see all week long here in the Bay Area. We woke up to dense clouds widespread from the coast into our inland spots, drizzly conditions along that peninsula, and we'll continue to see the fog fill the bay as we head into the overnight hours tonight with strong surface winds anywhere up to around 20 to 30 miles per hour along the coast and pushing into our inland spots too. So let's head over to our inland areas real fast, where daytime highs today are pretty mild. We're sitting in the 80s anywhere from Antioch, actually just in Antioch. The rest of our coastal communities and our inland communities are seeing 60s and 70s today. So it's a very mild forecast for us as we head out there, still below average, and it's been one of the coolest summers on record here in the Bay Area, including places like San Rafael, San Francisco, Napa. All of us have been dealing with temperatures a little bit below average for this time of year. Well, let's take a look at the next 7 days, because despite the fact that we're in this midweek cool down, we have a really nice warm up around the corner heading into this weekend. 70s today, 80s tomorrow. Suddenly we're jumping up to upper 80s as we head into Saturday's forecast. So about a 10-degree jump from today all the way into Saturday, and we'll continue to see that heat build as we head into early next week as high pressure ridges its way into the coast. Now, as we head over into the Bay forecast, those clouds still want to hold on tight to us. That's the case widespread throughout the Bay Area as we head into this weekend's forecast and early next week. We'll keep you updated on that here in the Weather Center.
There are new developments in the arrest of a Delta pilot taken into custody at SFO. The Contra Costa County District Attorney's Office announced that it has charged a second person in the sexual abuse case involving a minor. A second suspect is a 45-year-old woman. We are working to learn her connection to the case. Federal agents and deputies took this man, Rustam Bagwahar, into custody from the cockpit right after his flight landed on Saturday. He now faces 24 felony charges, including engaging in a sexual act with a child. He is being held on $15 million bail and is set to face a judge in Martinez this afternoon. Alameda County is making its biggest investment yet to fighting homelessness. Supervisors are set to vote today on a plan to pour more than $1 billion into housing, shelter, and prevention. A proposal dedicates 80% of Measure W sales tax funds, about $170 million a year, to solutions to fight homelessness, with the rest going to essential services. If revenues end up running higher, supervisors could add another $120 million. Well, it is normally a pretty quiet neighborhood, but in recent months, San Francisco's Sunset neighborhood has become the scene of some massive sideshows. Yeah, people in the neighborhood there have become increasingly desperate for help. Our Lauren Toms talked to them about why there may be some hope that people could knock this off.
The very first one woke us up, so it's kind of out of the dead of sleep.
Loud screeches and spinning tires jolted residents of this quiet Sunset District neighborhood awake. Pastor Abraham Lee lives and works nearby. He was startled as dozens gathered at the intersection of 42nd and Lawton for a late-night sideshow. The skid marks still scar the pavement.
These folks, they obviously knew what they were doing. They had all their license plates covered up with duct tape and other things so that even if a photo were taken of their cars, they wouldn't be able to easily identify them.
He's witnessed multiple sideshows just outside his door. This video from May is one of several incidents in recent months. Pastor Abe says it wasn't just the noise. It was seeing how young many of the participants were that made him reach out to District Supervisor Joel Engardio for help. And this week, help arrived in a humble form. 4 speed bumps installed at the troubled intersection.
These barriers allow for normal traffic flow. It's not going to affect the cars going through the intersection in a normal way. But if you're going to do donuts, your tires are going to hit that barrier and it's going to do some damage to your car.
The Sunset is just one of 6 districts in San Francisco where the city has installed sideshow deterrents in the form of bumps like these, posts, and centerline hardening measures that slow down left-turning traffic. Just feet from 42nd and Lawton, Leah owns an interior design shop. Not only was her building graffitied during one recent sideshow, her car was also damaged in another sideshow just blocks away.
Happened at our house. It smashed into our car, into our garage. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely is a possibility that I know of firsthand.
Sideshows in San Francisco peaked in 2021 with more than 70 documented incidents. Last year, that number dropped to at least 15, in part due to new laws that increase penalties for drivers and participants. Video from the May incident shows SFPD creeping in to disperse the sideshow.
Because the crowd of people was so large, it took a good 10 minutes for them to be able to clear out of that area.
Pastor Abe is hopeful the speed bumps will make a difference. He says the true danger isn't just the noise or damage. It's the lives at stake when the stunts go wrong.
If a car loses it, it's going to run through at least 50 of those kids before it gets to our house. That's a lot of bodies that it has to get through before it can actually touch us. And I'm more worried about the people that are going to get hurt in the process. So it might do something, and I hope it does. We're going to hold out hope.
Well, San Francisco Supervisor Myrna Melgar launched her own effort to improve safety. Her bill would commit the city to relaunching its Vision Zero program. You might remember back in 2014, city leaders set an ambitious goal aiming to reduce traffic deaths to zero by 2024. Well, that did not happen. Instead, last year was the deadliest year on San Francisco city streets over the past 2 decades. As the Trump administration ramps up its crackdown on immigrants, it's now going after those who hold temporary protected status, or TPS. A deadline has been set for immigrants from Honduras, Nepal, and Nicaragua to lose their legal status. People in San Francisco rallying outside the federal courthouse yesterday as arguments were heard in a lawsuit challenging that decision. Our John Ramos was there.
When the deportations began, we were told they were going to focus on the criminal element. Then the quotas kicked in, and the argument changed to anyone here illegally is a criminal. Now, even migrants that the government says are here legally are being targeted for removal. Perhaps it is a symbol of how happy they are to be in this country that the Latin immigrants began their protest with a dance party.
They have built their lives here. Some have bought homes, raised children, pursued their educations and their dreams.
But the issue was deadly serious. Holders of TPS status come from 17 countries that the U.S. government has decreed to be too dangerous, either from repressive governments or natural disasters. Cindy Alama fled her native land of Nepal following a devastating earthquake in 2015.
I was deeply grateful my country was in crisis, and returning would not have been safe. TPS allowed me to work, support my family, and live here without fear. Now, nearly 20 years later, this country is my home. Yes. Home.
But on August 5th, her legal status will be revoked, with the same happening to people from Nicaragua and Honduras the following month. TPS was created in 1990 when the U.S. got involved in a civil war in El Salvador and needed a way to protect refugees from the conflict. Now, those here under that protection face an uncertain future.
The government has broken its promise, violated the law. So these brave individuals are here today in federal court to say that the law still means something. And President Trump and DHS Secretary Noem are not above the law.
Stepping forward is not without risk, but Johnny Silva, who moved from Honduras as a toddler, says it's also a matter of conscience.
I joined this lawsuit because I feel it in my heart that I have to speak up for people and for others like me
The government's decision to terminate TPS for Hondurans and others, many other countries, doesn't just hurt TPS holders, it hurts our families, our friends, and our communities.
This was the lawsuit's first hearing before a federal judge. President Trump tried to end TPS in his first term, but it was held up in the courts.
TPS was essential in the early 90s and continues to be, was essential when the hurricanes took place and continues to be essential now, and we have to protect it.
The Department of Homeland Security is arguing that there is no more threat in those designated countries. But those who have spent decades living as Americans say they deserve a chance for permanent residency.
There are approximately 60,000 TPS holders in America. The Department of Homeland Security has ordered that immigrants from Nepal, Honduras, and Nicaragua be stripped of their legal status and work authorization in 60 days. Friends, family, and colleagues gathered on Tuesday to mourn a patrol agent who was shot and killed inside his office in Oakland. A procession honoring Joshua Byrd moved through the streets of Rockland and Roseville yesterday, followed by a heartfelt funeral service in Rockland. Earlier this month, a man on parole allegedly walked into the Edgewater Drive office and shot Joshua Byrd. Police confirmed that Byrd was not that man's parole officer. Byrd was 40 years old, a husband and father of 3. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. Alzheimer's can be a devastating diagnosis. Over time, it erases memories and even your very identity. We have details of a promising new treatment for people in the early stages of the disease.
You take a look at the daytime highs today. It is cool for us, widespread throughout the bay. We're talking about 70s returning into the North Bay this afternoon, 80s only in places like Antioch and along the foothills over into the Santa Clara Valley. And for our coastal communities that we are keeping a very close eye on right now when it comes to that tsunami advisory, We're sitting in the 60s for our daytime highs, anywhere from Half Moon Bay all the way up into San Francisco too. Let's take a quick look at the next 7 days as we head over into our coastal communities. We're gearing up for low 60s each day. Cloudy skies filling the bay in the morning hours, pulling back along the coast into the afternoon. Now, in some of our inland spots, we'll notice a late week warm up diving into this weekend. But for our friends along the coast, we still see low 60s into this weekend and early next week. So small day-to-day changes there where we will see that impact when high pressure moves in. We'll see sunnier skies in our inland spots. Temperatures will jump up to around 80, 85 degrees. Back to you.
Well, there is some good progress to report in the battle against Alzheimer's disease. While there is still no cure, new tests and new treatments are presenting some new options. It's important to say this is not for people with full-blown Alzheimer's, but for those in the early stages and those at higher risk of getting it. CBS News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. John LaPook has that story.
Oh my, Marty.
Carla and Marty Miner have traveled the world together. Married 44 years.
Look how young you look there.
They recently visited Bhutan.
We have a great time together.
3 years ago, Marty noticed Carla occasionally repeated what she'd already told him.
I didn't know if it was stuff that's happening because we're getting older.
A neurologist diagnosed Carla with Alzheimer's.
It was horrible. You know, I'm not going to have that. I don't want that.
Some patients and physicians have been reluctant to diagnose Alzheimer's because there have been few treatment options.
Are things different now because there finally is a medication that could potentially make a difference?
There's finally a medicine that you can show is different from placebo.
Dr. Sam Gandy, a professor of neurology at Mount Sinai School of Medicine, offered Carla a drug called Leqembi. It's an intravenous infusion of one of 2 drugs approved within the last 3 years to treat the disease. It removes plaques in the brain called amyloid, a protein associated with Alzheimer's.
So the red blobs are where the amyloid is.
Dr. Gandy has done consulting for the company that makes Leqembi. In patients with the early stages of Alzheimer's, studies showed the drug slowed mental decline by about 30% after about 18 months. Both treatments carry FDA black box warnings on the risk of swelling and bleeding in the brain.
Occasionally, there will be some swelling, in some cases to the point maybe of even some bleeding. So we do surveillance MRIs, regardless of whether there are symptoms or not.
How does that feel?
Carla Miner has had 7 infusions over 5 months. It's too soon to tell if the treatment is working, but she's currently independent, enjoying time with her husband, and still able to channel her favorite singer.
I know all the lyrics to a lot of those old rock and roll songs that I used to listen to.
You ain't nothing but a
hound dog.
All right.
I'm hopeful. I have a wonderful life. We've just been very, very lucky. Hopefully this will be lucky too.
Well, the medication costs tens of thousands of dollars, but in the majority of cases, it looks like it will be covered by insurance. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, we are continuing our coverage of tsunami advisories along our coast and the quick response seen in Hawaii.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Ann Makovic. Continuing coverage of our tsunami advisory. The Bay Area coast remains under that advisory right now. This is a look at the pier at Sharp Park Beach. That is in Pacifica, and the waters off San Francisco. Well, we have not seen a lot of damage nor flooding. Be aware, the waves can be dangerous, and local officials are advising people to stay away from the beaches and coastal areas. It can be unpredictable. A tsunami alert left people on edge in Hawaii and along the entire West Coast overnight. It brought mass evacuations to Hawaii and some coastal flooding. The cause of the tsunami alert, one of the largest earthquakes on record, way out in the Pacific off the coast of eastern Russia. Jonathan Bigliotti reports from Malibu.
You need to expect that there will be flooding on all of the islands. We expect significant damage along the coastlines.
An urgent warning from the governor of Hawaii ordering people to get to higher ground after one of the world's strongest earthquakes hit off Russia's coast early Wednesday local time, prompting tsunami alerts halfway around the world. Lines of vehicles stretch for miles in Honolulu, with drivers stuck in traffic trying to evacuate.
The roads are full, people trying to move. We ask you to stay calm, cooperate.
It was a similar scene near Waikiki Beach. Airports were shut down and evacuation shelters opened across the state.
We decided to go to elevated ground. We've passed a couple other gas stations that you can't even get in them.
The first tsunami waves hit Hawaii early this morning, flooding parking lots and boat harbors. The largest wave so far was off the coast of Maui, measuring about 6 feet high.
We're past the worst part of it. We're not going to see any impacts bigger than we've already seen.
The tsunami waves were created by a massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake that hit Russia's Far East some 6 hours earlier, interrupting surgeries and damaging buildings. Powerful waves first crashed into Russia's coastline, flooding homes, the largest as tall as 16 feet. Drone video captured the aftermath. And in Japan, people climbed on roofs as tsunami waves hit the shore.
And incredibly, no major injuries have been reported. Here in Southern California, officials are urging caution around the coast, warning specifically of strong rip currents.
Flights to and from Hawaii have resumed, but airport officials are still urging travelers to check with your airline before heading to the airport. Things are slowly getting back to normal for passengers, but there were some ripple effects at LAX this morning. A handful of United flights to Honolulu, Kona, and Maui were canceled. Last night, dozens of flights were canceled or rerouted back to LAX, making things tricky for travelers.
Getting in the airport last night, probably for, I would think, 2 hours, 2.5 hours before they actually canceled the flight, though. They were just delaying it back and back and back, which by the time it was actually canceled, it was really hard to get this flight, actually, to reschedule it. You were on the phone for probably like an hour and a half on hold trying to reschedule the flight.
Last night, some airports in Hawaii were closed for a period of time, and some passengers sheltered at the terminals overnight. Back here in the Bay Area, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie says local impact should be minimal, obviously, but we should continue to stay away from the beaches and some of the docks. Even with the tsunami advisory in effect in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay ferry service is actually up and running with no impacts expected. The last tsunami scare came in December when a 7.0 quake hit off the Northern California coast. Thousands in Pacifica rushed to higher ground, backing up Highway 1 for miles before officials canceled that warning an hour later. In San Mateo County, keeping a close eye on the coast after that tsunami advisory yesterday. Deputies are watching the water, and emergency officials say they did learn from December's scare and feel more prepared this time around.
And one of the things that we did was create a tsunami toolbox and a tsunami dashboard, and that was something that we could share out with the public.
People can search their address if you live in San Mateo County in the Tsunami Hazard Area dashboard. Figure out if you're in a hazard zone. But he says you should not panic and instead just focus on staying prepared. Crews in Monterey County recovered the wreckage of a deadly plane crash that killed 3 people over the weekend. The small plane plunged into the ocean near Point Pinos in Pacific Grove. That plane had taken off from the San Carlos airport late Saturday.
We've recovered most of the fuselage, the engines. This is a multi-engine airplane. Both of the engines. That's what I've seen so far. So there's still stuff that is on the ocean floor right now.
Pacific Grove is a small community, and so when things like this happen here, it is felt throughout the community.
The victims are from Salinas and Monterey. The U.S. Coast Guard and FAA still investigating how exactly that crash happened. A high-tech treasure hunt caused a scare in the South Bay. A geocache container shut down a VTA light rail station and tied up emergency response services for hours yesterday. The object was placed at the Winchester light rail station in Campbell as part of an online treasure hunt game. Authorities say it strongly resembled a pipe bomb. Law enforcement shut down train and bus service to the station just after 11 a.m. They evacuated a nearby school and closed roads as officials investigated. Santa Clara's bomb squad determined that it was not a threat, and they lifted restrictions a couple of hours later. Pest control was out in full force to battle a rat infestation at the ferry terminal in Vallejo. Crews are continuing inspections and laying out traps. That comes as reports of rodents have spiked in the area. Some people, like Lynn J, say it's become their new normal.
It's gross. Like, I wouldn't go in there and eat because there was like so many. There was more than 5 playing in the grass, and then they'll go by the benches and under people's legs and stuff. It's gross.
When you say big, like, what are you talking about?
Like, phone to a little bit bigger than my phone.
City officials say maintaining the health and safety of the public is their top priority. Over in the Central Valley, the Lodi Unified School District is implementing a new policy this year: no phones on campus. Claudette Stefani spoke with students at Lodi High as they start the new school year with those new changes.
Bella Aiken is excited to start the school year.
This is my first year on sideline, so I'm really looking forward to cheering at football games and basketball games.
This year, Bella and her classmates will have to follow a new policy called the Be Present campaign, launching at high schools within the district. Schools will be a no-phone zone, and students will be expected to keep their phones off and put away so they can focus on learning while also supporting their mental health.
It's kind of a bummer because I did like to text my mom throughout the day, but it's okay because I feel like we're going to be able to make more friends now.
District officials say a student shall not be prohibited from using a phone if a doctor determines it is essential for their health.
I think it's a good thing personally. I know a lot of parents think it's a good thing. I know the school or the students, because they're teenagers, they're not going to like it, but in the long run, it'll be a good thing for them.
We spoke with Lodi High School principal Jesus Marone, who says he believes there will be pushback at first.
I think it will at the beginning, but if we communicate and remind students in a positive way, I think they'll understand that.
Last year, Governor Newsom signed the Phone Free Act. By July 2026, all schools will be required to limit student phone use during school hours. A few Bay Area school districts have already implemented their own no phones policy. Back to school season is, of course, just around the corner, and Sacred Heart Community Services kicked off its annual Pack a Back fundraiser in San Jose to help families who need it. They handed out backpacks and school supplies yesterday, and they're going to give away more tomorrow. They're also asking for donations that can be dropped off at the nonprofit's campus on South 1st Street. The goal is to help 4,000 students get the supplies they need for the upcoming school year.
There's definitely a need in our community. We know that working families are struggling to keep up with the cost of living. So getting free backpacks and school supplies really makes a difference. So it's a really important day, and it's a lot of joy and fun for us here at Sacred Heart.
The organization estimates that the fundraiser will save families $400 on average. Coming up next, Bay Area baker serving up inspiration, how she is overcoming a crippling disease to pursue her passion.
As much as it's hard for me to admit that a wheelchair is likely in my future, I need to make this kitchen ADA compliant.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Now, yesterday, just around 4:24, a magnitude 8.8 earthquake hit just off the coast of Russia.
I hope there's still some
and
left.
Since then, we've been continuing to keep a close eye on what the National Weather Service has to say. Still advisories in effect right now when it comes to tsunami advisories, anywhere from Alaska all the way down to Hawaii and back here along the California coastline. We woke up to that this morning, where we're continuing to keep a close eye on conditions along our coast. Now, this morning alone, we've been keeping a very close eye on the tidal swings, and it's anywhere from 2 to 2.5 feet along the San Francisco coast in the harbors. So we're keeping a close eye on that because it's still hazardous out there. We're under that advisory, meaning strong currents and waves are still possible as we head into the next couple hours, and we'll keep you updated on when that advisory expires. In the meantime, let's take a look at the forecast too. It is one of the coolest, cloudiest days we're going to see all week long here in the Bay Area. We woke up to dense clouds widespread from the coast into our inland spots, drizzly conditions along that peninsula, and we'll continue to see the fog fill the bay as we head into the overnight hours tonight, with strong surface winds anywhere up to around 20 to 30 miles per hour along the coast and pushing into our inland spots too. So let's head over to our inland areas real fast, where daytime highs today are pretty mild. We're sitting in the 80s anywhere from Antioch, actually just in Antioch. The rest of our coastal communities and our inland communities are seeing 60s and 70s today. So it's a very mild forecast for us as we head out there, still below average, and it's been one of the coolest summers on record here in the Bay Area, including places like San Rafael, San Francisco, Napa. All of us have been dealing with temperatures a little bit below average for this time of year. Well, let's take a look at the next 7 days, because despite the fact that we're in this midweek cool down, we have a really nice warm up around the corner heading into this weekend. 70s today, 80s tomorrow. Suddenly we're jumping up to upper 80s as we head into Saturday's forecast. So about a 10-degree jump from today all the way into Saturday, and we'll continue to see that heat build as we head into early next week as high pressure ridges its way into the coast. Now, as we head over into the Bay forecast, those clouds still want to hold on tight to us. That's the case widespread throughout the Bay Area as we head into this weekend's forecast and early next week. We'll keep you updated on that here in the Weather Center.
Thanks, Jess. The Golden State Valkyries gearing up to play at Washington, D.C. against the Mystics tomorrow. It was a real sigh of relief for the team after their win in last night's game. Golden State had a big third quarter with several players stepping up and filling the void left by all-star Kayla Thornton. And with just 10 seconds left and the game tied, Cece Zandalizi hit a clutch shot with 3 seconds left for the lead. Valkyries hold on to win 77-75. Up next for the Valkyries, first visit to our nation's capital for a matchup with the Mystics. Our pregame coverage begins Thursday at 4 o'clock on KPIX. Well, July is Disability Pride Month, and we want to introduce you to a baker in Napa who's been selling home-baked pastries since the start of the pandemic. 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Despite this obvious challenge, she's continuing to live her passion. Suji Nam shows us how her community is stepping up to help.
They're layered with butter. These are aged cheddar and green onion.
Simple ingredients.
They're very unique. They're very time-consuming.
That Rory Candell has perfected.
Lots of buttermilk.
You'll find her in her kitchen, rolling up her sleeves bright and early.
Every Wednesday now, we have a scone production day.
Making hundreds of pastries each week.
We're a bake-at-home bakery, so everything we make is frozen, meant to be baked by our customers.
With a dream in one hand and a rolling pin in the other, she opened Rory's Bakehouse in Napa during the pandemic. As a baker, she stands for hours in the kitchen, something that is becoming more and more challenging each day.
It turned out that I had multiple sclerosis. So at the time I was diagnosed, it was shocking, but I was very mobile and totally fine. 18 months later, even though I'm on all the medications and doing all the things, I am losing my ability to walk.
And that is why next to all of her baking trays and utensils, you'll find her cane right by her. Candell can't easily lift her feet off the ground anymore, so she shuffles carefully around her kitchen.
As much as it's hard for me to admit that a wheelchair is likely in my future, and I need to make this kitchen ADA compliant because I am handicapped.
And that is when the community jumped in to help, donating money to help her soon renovate her kitchen for her physical needs.
How are you?
Madeline Karam is one of her many supporters.
It's our strawberry shortcake.
She is continuing, and she says, I'd rather transform this entire space
put a lot of money into making it work for her so she can continue to do what she's passionate about.
Even being able to walk to her freezer outside, she does not take for granted.
And we have a very stocked freezer here.
From making cookies to scones.
So this is our strawberry vanilla scone.
Nothing is holding her back.
Showing my kids really that anything is possible. It's gonna make me cry, but really, I just want them to know that if you have a dream, that you can't, like there are so many things that can get in a person's way and so many things that can stop you, but if you wake up every day and you just tell yourself you're going to overcome those things little by little, coupled with the fact that I have the most incredible support system, you can really overcome so much.
Pushing herself every day, baking through the barriers.
Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, she is a Holocaust survivor in her 90s. He's in his 50s, but they call each other best friends.
They was like, she is so tiny and you're so big. And I was like, it's just a size differential, but our hearts are the same.
We have the story of this unlikely pair and what bonds them together.
Hours, we'll see wind speeds kick up to anywhere to around 20 to 25 miles per hour, too. You take a look at the daytime highs today. It is cool for us, widespread throughout the bay. We're talking about 70s returning into the North Bay this afternoon, 80s only in places like Antioch and along the foothills over into the Santa Clara Valley. And for our coastal communities that we are keeping a very close eye on right now when it comes to that tsunami advisory, we're sitting in the 60s for our daytime highs, anywhere from Half Moon Bay all the way up into San Francisco, too. Let's take a quick look at the next 7 days as we head over into our coastal communities. We're gearing up for low 60s each day. Cloudy skies filling the bay in the morning hours, pulling back along the coast into the afternoon. Now, in some of our inland spots, we'll notice a late week warm up diving into this weekend. But for our friends along the coast, we still see low 60s into this weekend and early next week. So small day-to-day changes there where we will see that impact when high pressure moves in. We'll see sunnier skies in our inland spots. Temperatures will jump up to around 80, 85 degrees. Back to you.
Well, now to a story about an unlikely friendship between a 93-year-old Holocaust survivor and a man nearly 40 years younger. They met swimming, and they found that underneath the surface, they have much more in common than one might think. Kevin Coe has their story.
Today is one of Miriam and Ronaldo's favorite days of the week.
She's gonna have a pancake.
Pancake?
Yeah.
For 3 days every week, 93-year-old Miriam Ofer and 57-year-old Ronaldo Thompson sit down for a meal on Clement Street. Their secret handshake requires a thumbs up. Years of tradition and friendship that started here at the Jewish Community Center of San Francisco.
You wanna go to the stairs?
Yeah.
Okay, here they are.
Ronaldo isn't Jewish, but his wife works at the JCCSF and suggested he check out the pool, where Miriam just so happened to be.
I was in the pool. She came in, swam up to me, said, "I like your smile."
Yeah.
And I said, "I like your smile." And we've been friends ever since.
What is good in a smile? It feels good that you have a good feeling with the person who is with you.
Ronaldo brings Miriam to her swimming classes here 3 days a week. The 93-year-old is a Holocaust survivor who lost her family during World War II.
My husband passed away a long time. He was in the concentration camp.
Just last year, she started having some
Yeah.
memory problems, and she
Yeah.
couldn't make it here by herself anymore. So her son contacted me and asked me would I be willing to bring her.
Ronaldo was more than willing. As much as he caters to Miriam, she helps him too.
She understands the hurt I've been through, and I understand the hurt she's been through.
As a black man, Ronaldo says he's seen racism in some of its worst forms. And through hundreds of meals and car rides, he's learned he's a lot like Miriam, even if others can't believe it.
They was like, "She is so tiny and you're so big." And I was like, it's just a size differential, but our hearts are the same. So we relate, because we've been through these type of tragedies. We relate. The Jewish community and the black community got way more in common than they don't.
Ronaldo's big smile hides the pain he lives with day to day. He fell from a scaffold in 2005, leaving him permanently disabled.
Thank God I don't have to drive with this left leg. If it was a stick, we'd be done. It's just over here aching and throbbing, and it's running up my back now.
By the time Ronaldo is done dropping off Miriam at her assisted living facility, his back pain is at its peak. But life's challenges seem much easier to bear when you have your best friend along for the ride.
I'm just blessed that I get to have time with her now. I mean, I tell people all the time, I don't know why the Lord chose me to be able to hang out with her, but I'm glad he did.
Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.